Hi, welcome to the podcast. Today I have Stephanie. She is the VP of Marketing and Head of Client Services at Conveyor Marketing Group, where she leads strategy for the agency's largest client engagements and shapes its thought leadership on future B2B marketing. With 20 years in the field, her work centers on one question: how do companies earn credibility in a market where buyers have already made up their minds before anyone reaches out? She publishes regularly on LinkedIn about AI, buyer behavior, and what modern marketing actually requires. We're so happy to have you here today. Thank you for coming. Okay, so my first question is, you work with a lot of companies on how they show up in the market. What's the biggest shift you're seeing right now in how buyers actually make decisions, and what roles does AI play?
Yeah. So I think there have been shifts happening for years that buyers have been delaying conversations with a salesperson. I think we all sort of know that you want to do your research on your own. You don't want to be sort of harassed by a salesperson. So buyers have been for a long time researching on their own and then only coming to sales when they're ready to kind of get into that part of the conversation. Um, what used to happen 5 years ago or 10 years ago is a buyer would go to Google, they would, start a query, they would get a bunch of search results, they would click through and read all the websites and start to build their mental shortlist. What's really changed in the last couple of years is the impact of AI search and discoverability, and it's changed buyer behavior. So what we're seeing happening today is that buyers are still doing their research before they ever talk to you, but they're getting their information from channels that a brand doesn't own. So they're going to Google still, but they're probably getting their answer from an AI overview, or they're having a conversation with an LLM, um, or they're on social media, right? They're on LinkedIn and they see something that, feels relevant to them, or they're reading user reviews, or maybe they're reading about a product on Reddit or whatever they're doing. They're building their mental shortlist of options before they ever might have heard of you, right? They're not doing that initial research and coming to websites anymore. And so what we see is um, what brand awareness, or what like we in marketing call top of funnel. That top of funnel discovery has moved away from the website, away from a place that you own and where you can really see what's happening. And you now risk not ever being part of the mental sort of options before you even know that somebody's in market. And that's really what we're seeing happening today. And I would say the biggest impact that we've seen on B2B of AI search.
It's kind of sad in a way, right?
It
Because then
is.
you don't get to have a free discussion before they've already determined what they're
Yeah.
thinking.
That's really what's happening. And you need to be part of that conversation early.
Yeah. So if buyers are doing all this research on their own, who or what are they trusting? Where does credibility actually come from now?
Yeah. So we say this to our clients all the time. Um, Today, you need real people to be credible, right? There's so much AI generated sort of content out there. And there's so much AI driven, like outbound calls and emails happening that you really have to kind of filter down the nonsense. And so what we're seeing is that people trust people, and they trust people who are credible in what they're saying, meaning they're hands-on practitioners doing the work. They're the expert in the field. They live it day to day. It's not somebody who's going on to be a thought leader just for the sake of being a thought leader, right? They
Right.
actually are the people who do the work and know what they're doing. That's where credibility lives. And so what we're seeing in B2B is um, you need to get your experts out there. And so if you're, in a small business, maybe it's you, maybe it's your team, but you need to put the people who know what they're talking about out there in the market. They need to be on those channels where people are educating themselves before they ever talk to you. So that means activate yourself or your team to get in the public conversation, to get on social media and join the conversation, to get in Reddit and, respond in threads. But the really important thing is that it has to be conversation. I used that word a couple times. It really can't be a pitch, because you'll get tuned out that way. So what we're saying is, credibility comes from people, and it comes from people who have something worth saying and a point of view that's worth finding. The question I'm getting asked a lot lately is, how can I get my brand found in an AI, like in a chat GPT response, for example? And what we're finding is it's having something worth saying, having a point of view that is either a point of view on the market that's unique, or an operational sort of approach or methodology that's really kind of niche and different. um, get that out there, get it out there in channels that are freely accessible, and like your website and social media and all of these other, options. Get it out there consistently. That's what an LLM is going to surface. That's how you're going to show up. That's how you build credibility today. Just make sure you're saying something worth people actually reading or hearing or whatever.
Wow. See, I'm learning something new too. You've talked about the idea of being worth finding. What does that mean and how is it different from traditional marketing?
Yeah. So marketing for a long time has been about volume and execution. And it's, you know, publish a lot of content, try to get high in the search results, get a lot of traffic to your website. And the sort of old methodology is 1% of that traffic will convert. So like some leads are going to shake out if you bring enough people. It's a numbers game. And I think marketing has been playing a numbers game for a long time. And that's just not going to be rewarded any longer because the volume is gone. What we're seeing is, because people are getting their answers by going to Google and reading an overview and never going to the website, or going to ChatGPT and asking a question and never clicking through, traffic's down, volume is down. So we need a new game. So now we're saying, it's be specific. It's have that credibility by talking about something real with real human beings who are actually communicating something that they know from their own experience. That's really the way to be found and to kind of break through the noise today. Um, One of the pieces of this has been creating content just for the reach. So publishing like content about, uh, what is this thing, right? Well, educational top of funnel content that is meant for really for driving search traffic was a game for a long time in marketing. We would tell clients, go and publish this content so that you get that traffic. That's not working. So it's really leaning into getting the right people out there saying the right thing. And in my view, the role of a website is now, to help you determine, it's to help the visitor understand, are you truthful? Can I believe what you're saying? I saw you out there on LinkedIn. You said XYZ. Let me go to your website and actually validate if you actually are doing what you say you can do. And then give somebody an easy path to contact you and to get that conversation started. That's really what the goal of a website is today versus driving traffic. It's prove your point and give them a pathway to reach you.
That makes sense. Now I understand. For a small business owner listening to this, maybe they don't have a big marketing team or budget. Where should they
Mhm.
actually start?
Yeah, so I think there's two areas. One, start with yourself. I said it a little bit earlier, but get yourself out there. Um, it may be uncomfortable. Some people are more natural, with it.